morning, everyone. So I'm Aneeta Sharma, and I'm currently working as a software engineer on Ruby on Rails at Cloud Factory for more than 5 years now. So let me give you a brief intro about my background before we jump into the talk. So before Cloud Factory, I worked at a few other companies. I started my career as a web designer. It was almost 9 years ago, back in 2009. And I used to design mockups and web pages and turn them into HTML and CSS. And after working as a web designer for a year, I found out that I was also interested in programming and I wanted to do the backend stuff as well. So then I started to learn PHP and then worked as a PHP developer for another year. And then I worked as both a web designer and a PHP developer for interchangeably for a few more years in few other companies. So web designer, PHP developer, again web designer, and again PHP developer. And when I joined Cloud Factory, I was hired as a front-end engineer. It was in 2013. So after working as a front-end engineer, a JavaScript developer for 6 months, I again wanted to switch to Ruby on Rails. And so after 6 months, I eventually switched to Ruby on Rails engineer, and since then I have been able to manage to stick on that. So there are a few things that I have realized throughout all these years of my career. The initial few years of my career, it was all about coding. I did not know anything else. I did not know about all the other skills that are required to be an effective software engineer. And most of the definitions that I found in Google about becoming a full stack engineer, it all revolved around this. So a full stack developer is someone with familiarity in each layer, if not mastery in many, and a genuine interest in all software technology. And back then I was working as both a web designer and a PHP developer, so I was designing both mockups and web pages and turning them into the code. I was writing the backend stuff as well. I was doing the administration stuff as well. So does that make me a full stack developer? Is having these technical skills enough to call myself a full stack engineer? Yeah, and I didn't think so. So after joining Cloud Factory and after working there for so many years now, there are a few things that I have realized, and most importantly that just having the technical skills is not enough to become an effective software engineer. Being a software engineer, I have had the chance to wear several hats. I have worked as a project lead, I have worked as a tech lead, I have worked as a line manager. And I did not have different titles while working on all these roles because these are all part of what I believe every software engineer should have. And I want to talk about that today. So this talk is about how to go full potential as a software engineer and how these things will be beneficial for our career growth. And it does not matter if you're a junior just starting out or a senior, because this is a lifetime learning process and it applies to everyone at any level. So let's get started. So the first and the fundamental thing that every software engineer should know is the problem identification skills. So most of the times what happens is, and I have also experienced this multiple times, usually problems are identified by the stakeholders, or they think they have identified the problems, and then only the engineer's role kick in. And we as an engineer, we analyze the problem a little bit and then jump right into the solution. But the real challenge here is the problem identification part itself. So if it's not identified correctly, then we may just be solving a symptom and not the actual problem. And there is one quote by Thomas Weddell, who says the point of reframing is not to find the real problem, but rather to see if there is a better one to solve. So let me share you a story. I read this somewhere in a blog, I think. So there was this man and a wife, his wife, and they had 3 kids. And all of these children, they would wake up early in the morning every day and they start fighting with each other. And it happened every day. And their parents, they tried to solve this problem in every way possible. So they taught their children the importance of good relationships. They taught the kids how to communicate with people. They taught them how to control their anger, how to manage their anger, but nothing worked. So then they started to reanalyze the problem, and what they found out was they didn't actually have the fighting problem, they actually had a morning problem. So the kids, they would wake up, since they woke up early in the morning, they did not have enough energy, they had very low energy, and they would start to feel irritated, and so then they would start fighting with each other. So the solution to that problem was simply to give them a glass of orange juice. And they started doing it, and from the next day they stopped fighting. So reframing the problem is very important. It's very important to, it's very important to know the things, have the business understanding of how actually things work to figure out what exactly went wrong. So communication. So communication is a skill that is required in every area. So it's not just as a software engineer, but in every level. And this is something, just as food and shelter are to the human beings, communication skill is the primary skill that every software engineer needs. And according to a 2016 survey by National Association of Colleges and Employers, communication skills, especially verbal communication skills, are ranked first among a job candidate's must-have skills. So it's very important that as a software engineer, we are very effective in communication. Now, so how do we build the communication skills? So by speaking, so there are two reasons why people give presentations: to get other people's attention to the topic, to get other people's attention, or to receive the visibility for what we have done. And now, according to the study, most of us, the software engineers, we are introverts. We do not socialize much. We like to stay in our little room and just code and code and code and not think about anything else. So, but the ability to speak eloquently, writing clearly, asking questions, and listening, these are the most efficient skills that every employer seeks, along with the technical skills for any software engineer. And so another form of communication, which is very important, is giving and receiving feedbacks. So I was once assigned a direct report, and I did not know what to do then. I thought, okay, I just have to, conduct one-on-one meetings every couple of weeks, and that's about it. But with time, it got even harder. It was like the responsibility of a whole person was dependent on me. And eventually what I realized was I should have given feedbacks to this person from early on and in timely manner. So, and it's not just one way, it's two way. We have to receive feedbacks as well. So ask your manager, ask your peers, what are the things we're doing great at? What are the things we need to improve on? And this will give us a positive nudge and to what to work on next, and gives a positive reinforcement, and which ultimately boosts our morale. So teamwork. Now, how many of us are comfortable working alone rather than in a team? Quite many. So I was once asked in an interview whether I work best alone or in a team, and I'm pretty sure they wanted me to say in a team, but I said the opposite. I still got the job anyway, but the point is, when we work in a team, every person puts in their ideas and we solve the problem faster. So Peter Skillman introduced a challenge many years ago called the Marshmallow Challenge, where a team of certain group of people are given the following resources. So 20 sticks of spaghetti, 1 yard of tape, 1 yard of string, and 1 marshmallow. And all they have to do is build the tallest structure possible that supports the marshmallow. The marshmallow has to be on the top. And this experiment required the team to collaborate as fast as they can to come up with the structure. So he ran this experiment with a lot of diverse groups, and the result was something like this. So the architects and the engineers, the best designs were built by the architects and the engineers as opposed to the business students who performed the best. Kindergarten students, surprisingly, they had the most creative structures. So the point is, if one was to do this alone, it would have taken him a lot of time and would probably come up with an idea or two. But when we work in a team, more and more ideas flow, and we tend to take time to understand the problem. And before jumping into action, we tend to share knowledge, we communicate more and often, and it gives the sense, it boosts our creativity and gives the sense of ownership. And most importantly, when we do achieve something as a team in a group, it gives a positive reinforcement, which ultimately boosts our productivity and performance as well. So now imagine that you have to give a presentation and you just have a few days to prepare for it. And you already have a lot of workload in your plate, and there are so many other urgent tasks that needs your attention. And you're getting all anxious and cannot concentrate on one thing, and just getting anxious. And I have experienced this multiple times in my career. So there is this principle called the Eisenhower principle, which helps to manage our priorities. So it helps us distinguish between the urgent and the important tasks. So there is one quote from Dwight D. Eisenhower who says, "I have two kinds of problems, the urgent and the important. The urgent are not important and the important are never urgent." So the Eisenhower principle, it urges us to spend our time on the important tasks as well and not just focus on the urgent ones. But most of the times we do the opposite. So for example, I usually wait till weekend so that I can get enough time then to complete my personal work or some household chores. But when weekend actually arrives, I usually procrastinate. I'm the kind of person who likes to just maybe read a book or watch TV all day and do nothing. But I know in my head that I have to do this and this. But then a friend sends me a message, "Hey, do you want to hang out?" And it literally takes me a few minutes to get up, get ready, and get out of the house. And we do this every day, every single day. So this principle helps us to manage our priorities and to work on not just the urgent ones, but the important ones as well. So first, we create a list of all the things that we need to do, and then assign them into each matrix of the Eisenhower matrix. So the first quadrant is called the do first. So these are the tasks that are urgent as well as important. So these are the tasks that we want to complete it by at most today or tomorrow. And the second quadrant is called schedule. So these are the tasks that are important but less urgent. So we can schedule these tasks and then work on them later on. The third quadrant is called delegate. So these are the tasks that are less important to us but still pretty urgent. So these are the kind of tasks that we can delegate to other people and then check on the progress on them later on. And the last quadrant is the don't do. So these are the tasks that are neither urgent or never and not important as well. So these are just distractions and we do not want to be doing at all. So this is just an example list, it's not my list. And the last one is the decision making. This is one of the very important skills that we need to have as a software engineer, because as we grow as a software engineer, we are constantly faced with making decisions, and whether it's simple or complex. And harder the decisions, the more mental energy it will drain. Every single decision that we make takes up a little portion of our mental capacity, and that's why many successful people like Steve Jobs or Mark Zuckerberg, they wear similar clothes every day so that they have to make one less decision. And so working as a project lead, I was also bombarded with a lot of things that needed decision making. And it was overwhelming at times, but there were a few guidelines that has helped me. And so the first one is seek help from people who can contribute in the decision-making process. And I specifically mean seek help because we do not want to delegate the whole decision-making tasks to others. So that is your job, you have to do it. But take help, ask people ask for other people's opinion, what they think, and then make the decision. Or present few recommendations. So when in doubt, make a list of things that you think are best for the best approaches to handle the situation. List out all the pros and cons. You should be able to figure out by then what is the best approach, but if you're still not sure, then share it with the team and take the inputs and then make the decision. So, and if nothing works, just go with whatever comes to your mind first. It doesn't matter if you take a wrong decision. It's important that you take one. So that way, you can learn from it and then make improvements on it later on. So to sum up, these are just a few skills that I have encountered or experienced in my career. There is a lot more, and these skills, have definitely made my job easier, and these are not the rules that we need to follow, but few guidelines that has helped me in my journey and might help you in yours. Thank you.